the loving being alone comes from that. When I was a child, I was extremely happy to just be. I remember I would go out and play. When it's raining, I'd be outside by myself. And it's still something I really value today, because I think it's such a gift to be able to be alone and love being alone and not be afraid of it.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another session of the Playhouse. As promised, Q1 2026, we're dropping back-to-back CTAs. You know what? This one, with this guest, we've been trying to do this for a couple of years. She kept telling me, Richie, I'm not ready, Richie, I'm not ready, Richie, I'm not ready. I called her a couple of days ago, and this is one of the fastest CTAs that we have made happen. The tagline on this show is, you truly never know people until you take the time out to get to know people. This is one of those behind the scenes superstars. A lot of stuff that you see and that you know, you rarely know the people behind the scenes who have done things, who've moved pieces, who've juggled different balls so that you're seeing can happen. She's a behind the scenes superstar and has been doing this for not years. I can use the word decades with her. I'm excited. I don't like introducing people with their titles, but there's some titles that I like throwing out. She's a mother of 4. Mm-hmm. She's a wife. Ladies and gentlemen, and my main man, Izo, put your hands together for none other than Zaheeda Suleman.
I think you should go do the Super Bowl halftime show, but let's do this.
Thank you for coming, finally.
Thank you, Richie. Thank you for having me. Yes, agreed. It's been a while in the making, but everything in its time.
Everything in its time. I love it. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the conversation. Personally, I want to hear just your life journey. So relax. You're talking to me. If you want to talk directly to these guys, they're there. This is just a relaxed conversation that you and I are having. There are flies on the wall. Are you ready?
Born ready.
I come here with only one question.
Yes.
And that question is, when and where were you born?
Right. I was born on 9th of December, 1975. So I've just turned 50 in
Wow.
December. Yep.
Hey, don't 50. Look it.
Yeah. No, blessed genes. In Mata Hospital, Nairobi.
Nairobi.
Yep.
Okay.
So my older sister, myself, and my brother, Mata Hospital. The baby sister, we're 4. Nairobi Hospital.
What born are you in that?
Second. I'm the second born.
You're the second born.
Yeah. So actually, I always say I'm very lucky. I've got 3 siblings. Older sister lives in Sweden. I'm here. Brother lives in the US. Younger sister lives in Thailand. So holidays are set. So now I'm second born and I live here and I love it.
What I like doing, so CT is a jigsaw puzzle, and and we are painting this picture called Zaheeda. So I take the different pieces of your life and you explain them and you put them down.
Sure.
So what I want to understand now is, paint me context of the house, the family that you grew up. Let me see your dad and mom. Let me see the homestead.
All right. So my father was Indian, born and bred in Narok. His great-grandfather was being taken by the British to South Africa to be laborers there. And along the way, the dhow they were on broke down and they were asked to wait in Mombasa. And the next one would come in 3-4 months, whatever it was. And his great-grandfather, being the explorer he was, said, I'm not sitting still. And he ended up in Kijabe. Yep.
For Mombasa?
Yes. And then in Kijabe started a shop. And then in Kijabe, the locals told him, actually, the money is sitting in a small town from here called Narok. Go to Narok. And I have the pictures. I'm going to give you the pictures if you want to put them up. But I have the pictures of what Narok looked like with 1 or 2 buildings and what Narok looks like today. But that's how he ended up in Narok, and then obviously called in his brother and his wife and everybody. And they made a life in Narok. And so my father and his 7 siblings were all born in Narok. And we still have that house. My cousin still owns that house. if anybody knows Narok well, it used to be the old Esso petrol station. I don't know what it runs as now, but it was on the crossroad Narok is defined by this crossroad. So if you cross over, it's the bridge, and right now it's the Art Cafe, Kenol petrol station. But just before you cross over, on the right-hand side, there's a gray building. And it has a petrol pump right outside it. That's where I grew up. Opposite that was Spear Hotel at the top, and a small shop at the bottom, which is where I would go and blow my father's money on sweets, and something called Pluravit. I don't know if people still remember something called Treetops, the drink, and then this Pluravit powder. That was supposed to be a vitamin C drink, but we used to put it this and lamba the whole day. But so that's how my father ended up, or rather was from Narok. My mother...
Okay.
Wait, okay. So
First of all, I love that. That's how you start a CTA. So, before we come to your mom, already you're showing your family is accidental in Kenya.
Yes, accidental. Actually, you've said that so beautifully. I don't think anybody said it like that before, but yes, it was an accident. We should have been in South Africa.
Do you have context of, you see, I've always thought Indians were coming here because of the railway. So Indians were sort of the laborers that the British used. Is that, or do you have a history on that?
There was that as well, but I don't know that I can speak about it with authority, I would know so much of it. But yes, that's how Indians ended up in Kenya, right?
Yeah.
It was to be laborers to build the railway. But like I said, this batch was going to South Africa, not Kenya, but ended up here, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful on that. Let's go now to your mom.
My mother was Russian in the then USSR. I always get that look when I say that. I always get that. It's almost like I'm making it up, but I have her passports and I have all her documents and I have wedding photos of them. I kept everything. So if anybody wants evidence, I have it. But so let me explain. In the 60s, the Russian government would give out, the USSR would give out scholarships to students. My dad wasn't one of the ones who won. His friend won, who backed out, chickened out last minute, and my father asked, could he go instead of him, and then was given the opportunity and went. So much so that he didn't even tell his parents. Because remember, so how it happened, in the way he told us the story was, he came to say bye to his brother and friend who had gotten the scholarships. He didn't get it, but his friend, I think, backed out or chickened, like cold feet. And my dad asked, and he went and he sent a message home back to Narok to his mom and dad and said, I've gone to Russia. And he was there for 6 years. He went to study journalism, met my mom. They said they were very good friends.
Yeah.
They never said that they looked at each other and fell in love. They said what was strength for them was their friendship. And she was doing journalism, and he had gone to do law, not journalism. He had gone to do law. He really wanted. My father should have been a lawyer because God knows he used to argue with everything. Like everything was a debate.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you more about my father. But yeah, and then when she met him, she convinced him to be a journalist like her, and that's what they did together. So my father was the first in his entire community to go to university, to get a master's degree. And so that held on for really long.
Wow.
So that was a big achievement in the 60s. Now, let me tell you another funny story about how they ended up here. So they got married.
In Russia?
In Russia, in Moscow.
Yeah.
They got married.
At the time, it was USSR, United...
Yes, USSR.
Yeah.
Soviet Union.
Yeah.
My father's father and mother had already chosen a bride for him here in Narok.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Another accidental. You are an accidental.
But I don't know. I think I'm God's plan. I don't think I'm an accident.
No. Good. Yeah, I like
that. So my dad's parents had already chosen a girl for him, as you would. You're in the 60s, nobody's marrying outside of their own. Your father and mother choose and you do what? Especially in the Asian/Indian community.
Yeah.
You're chosen for, you say yes, you meet her maybe the day you're getting married, or if you're lucky, you know her from somewhere. everybody knew my dad, his name was Vali, was coming back to marry her. And my dad shows up with my mom, already married with her. It wasn't easy.
Wow.
It wasn't easy for my mother because say what you want to say. I think at the time, a handful of my dad's family accepted her. Everybody else was like, no. And then you can imagine the shame. I don't want to say shame. Shame sounds so what, but imagine now you've already gone and told the family. Munango, you're just waiting for him to return. But he's returned with my mom. So that's how they ended up in Kenya. He brought her back home.
And he goes back to Narok.
Narok, yeah. At the time, Narok we didn't really have much presence in Nairobi or any actually. Okay. Narok was it. Comes back to Narok, however, gets a job in Mombasa with the KNA as a sports journalist. And so he was working there. But at some point, and he was with my mom.
Okay.
And if I recall correctly, both my older sister and I were also quite young and we were in Mombasa. So I spent maybe a year or two early life in Mombasa. But then salary wasn't great. And obviously my mom couldn't work because of paperwork, language barrier, all of that stuff now means she's just at home. But my dad's older brother, like I said, my dad was in a family of 8. His eldest brother said to him, why don't you come to Narok? I bought a truck, let's grow the business together. And they did. I still have pictures of those trucks. It's beautiful stuff. And so my dad quit his job and came back to be an entrepreneur and support his brother. And late 60s, early 70s, we started a trucking business. The family did. It became a family business. And we started supplying. So we were transporting fuel for ESSO, which then went on to become Mobile, which today is Oil Libya Ola. ESSO, Kenya Shell, and then we started transporting for lodges like Serena. In fact, my parents, Serena in the Mara, they transported all the building material to make that lodge.
Wow.
So fuel, we just had trucks. And then business started to grow well into the late 60s, early 70s. So no, me and my sister were not born by then.
Okay, yeah.
My sister's a 73, I'm a 75. But business is doing well. And yeah, so still in Narok, but then now, in those days when you left your hometown and came to Nairobi and were renting or could buy a house in Nairobi, you had made it in life. So we did have my uncle, my dad's youngest brother had a house. All the brothers had a house here. Some had bought, some were renting. We were renting.
Yeah.
My dad and his eldest brother, were very close. So we all lived in one house, a 5-bedroom house here in Nairobi. What brought us here is school.
Okay.
School was what brought. Some stayed in Narok, do schooling in Narok. So my older sister did schooling in Narok. I came straight to Nairobi. So my nursery school, everything. By the time I'm now born, we're now more Nairobi based.
Okay, that's actually what I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out when you're born, when you live in the hospital, are you going to Narok or are you coming to Nairobi?
Nairobi's home.
Nairobi's home at that time.
Nairobi's now home. Narok is where you go on weekends. When people say Nimenda Shags, that's literally how it was. You've gone. So weekends, Friday, we'd go back to Narok, spend the weekend. Sunday, you're back to school. It's back to Nairobi to go to school.
And where in Nairobi are you living at that time?
There was a part, the part I remember most, because that's like really well, because I would have been 1975. At the point of the coup, which was in 82, I was 7 years old. We were living right next to Yaya Center, which is, the house still exists, by the way. And Yaya Center was a fence, like those chicken wire fence kind of things. And whoever owned that land had maize. And I should tell you how I was the one who was sent, because I was so tiny. I was the one who was sent in by my cousins and my siblings to
get the maize.
Steal the maize is the right word, not get the maize. But yes, the houses. So here's Yaya Center today. And if you're coming from Kibera into now connecting to Awings Kodek, that road where the petrol station and Ad Life Plaza,
I see it.
That house is right there and it still exists. we were renting it from Mr. Hinga.
Okay.
Who's,
Anyway.
by the way, who's later on in life, the house we were renting, the gentleman's son, Mr. Hinga, then his son ended up being a teacher of mine in Brookhouse later in life. So the world is very small.
Tiny.
Yeah.
This.
So my earliest recollection of where we lived in Nairobi for me was that house, which is, I call it the Hinga house near Yaya Center.
I've seen my eyes. My eyes are just like wide open, like I'm chewing this story. So I want to understand, how is community living? I love that model of families being integrated personally.
Yeah.
Like I feel that's where the Africans, we've sort of missed out on that. We started like that, then we became too westernized, and that community living has gone. So what was that like? Because you've got your cousins who are like your siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I knew my mom and dad were, and then I knew there were so many other parental figures, right? Especially because we lived with my dad's eldest brother and his wife.
Yeah.
And so I called my dad Papa and my mom, and my uncle, I called him Dad, and my aunt, I called her Mommy.
Wow.
So that's how we grew up. And so problems were solved by anybody who was present. And then the cousins we had were much older than us, so we were the babies of the family. So the cousin I'm very close to, his name is Hanif, was the oldest cousin now, firstborn of all the cousins. And we're many. Now imagine eight siblings, and then all of us. We're many. He's the oldest, and we're still very close. We speak all the time. He was my father figure, and my dad passed away. He's been a solid structure in my life. So they were older, and we were just young people looking up to them. So we had this 5-bedroom house, the Hinga house, 2 bedrooms. I still remember, I loved that house. My family, so my dad, mom, and us 3, because my sister hasn't been born yet. She comes in 1985. We're talking 82. She was born in that house. And my uncle's family, they took over the upstairs. But food, etc. My mom was not domesticated, and I've said this in so many interviews. Yeah. She was running the trucking business. So a lot of the domestication in terms of cooking and all that came from my aunt. But my aunt and my uncle didn't live in Nairobi. They lived in Narok. They were running the Narok outfit. My mom and dad were running the Nairobi outfit. So we were always back and forth. So if I left Nairobi, I wasn't particularly not going to a family kind of situation. In Narok, I'd walk into any of my aunts, uncles' houses like it was our own.
Yeah.
I would wake up, and I was actually telling a colleague of mine the other day, we were driving somewhere, and it reminded me of the dust in Narok. And I'd leave my grandmother's house to my aunt's house where my favorite cousin lived. We were age mates, so I'd go to play there a lot. But by the time you come back in the evening, there's that meme of the guy who, when you slap him, the dust. That's how it was.
That's you.
Because that's you. You went, nobody in town disturbed you. No one was worried somebody would mug you. Or Narok was totally safe. I could walk out of my grandmother's house at the age of 7, 8, 9 years old without supervision, go spend the day with my aunt, come back in the evening, and I'm all good. So that's how we grew up. We grew up without... there was nothing like, please get permission for me to go and spend the day with my aunt. She'd find me there, another mouth to feed. It was very normal.
I love community living. I mean, thank you so much for sharing this. What about school? Where do you start? What's your first recollection of going to school?
I don't have much of a recollection of my school for nursery. And if you ask me what was my nursery school, I should ask my older sister, but I should have asked that question because I don't know what my nursery school was. But my school that I remember really well was Kilimani Junior Academy in Langata.
You went to KJ? Mm-hmm. You were many. I also
Mrs.
KJ.
Motion.
Yes.
Hey, where?
So when do you start KJA? When do you start?
That's my primary school. Straight, 7 years old onwards, I think. We were all there. My siblings, my cousins, we were all at Kilimani Junior Academy.
Yeah.
And that's the primary school I remember. I still remember her office with the big glass window and how she'd look at all of us. And if you misbehaved, you were in her office. If you misbehaved really badly, you were caned in public. So you were never going to be those people.
Yeah.
My cousin he got into trouble and he was caned in front of everybody. And I was traumatized by that. I still think about that was crazy. But yeah, Kilimani Junior Academy.
So did you start from pre-unit or from class 1? So you're saying 7 years?
I think class 1.
From class 1,
that's where I went for pre. Honestly, and I should have asked those questions. I don't have a nursery school, does it?
Yeah.
My sister remembers. My older sister. I think my siblings remember their nursery school. I don't remember. I also don't think I was so into school in those days that it stuck in my mind. I only started enjoying school when I came into Brookhouse. Other than that, it was something I was told I must do.
Oh, for real? Okay, so how was school like? What do you remember of school? You've said you sort of never enjoyed it, but what was that?
No, I loved school. I just think Kilimani, the way it was for me was just, it was school. You know, when you're in that, between the age of, I think, 7 to 12, which 7 to 12-year-old do you know enjoy school? Handful, by the way. Those ones, they want to stay at home with their mothers, especially now, gadgets, do what. But I don't, like, it was not like a wow, oh, I loved it and it stays in my mind. What I remember is my classes. I remember my teacher taking my break from me every day. Taking
your break?
Yes.
And doing what with it?
Eating it.
Wow.
Yeah. I know I'm painting a really bad picture, but that's the reality.
That's the truth. That's your story.
That's the truth. She would I'm not going to give her name, but she would take my break because it was so good. So I would just sit there and then hope somebody would share mine. And then lunch in Kilimani, for as far as I could remember, was ugali and cabbage every day because you couldn't bring in your own lunch.
Yeah.
And on Fridays, if you're lucky, they would add nyama. So for the longest time, that's all we ate was ugali and cabbage.
You know, it's so
Sometimes they'd put sukuma in it. Fridays, if you're lucky, there was nyama. So then you go into a school like Brookhouse and every day there's a menu.
Wait, we're coming to Brookhouse.
Like, what is this?
I see the way you're like, let's finish this KJF chapter quickly. So, but to
be fair, I did
sharp?
Enjoy it. Was I sharp?
Yeah.
Hey.
You know, Juliani has this word, he says, nilipitia chuo sikupita, something like that.
Yeah. You know what? I wasn't academic. My you know, I'm taking time to answer this because I want to be honest with you. When I was growing up, I was considered the dumb one. Even with the relatives and stuff. So much so that they would be checking if my lights were on. I didn't speak for the longest time. I spoke, but I wasn't vocal. I was just myself. I loved being alone. I still do. I thrived in being alone. I just was happy in myself. And so I didn't say much. I wasn't academically inclined. I was sport inclined. So I played a lot of sport. I was always outside. I hated being indoor. Even during the coup in 1982, can I tell you what I did? I walked out of the compound. I don't know where I was going.
Wow.
Yeah, my mother tells that story with a lot of difficulty because what had happened, the gate was very easily opened. And like I said, in those days, you know, and anyway, let me tell you about that and how unaware I think sometimes I was about what was going on. We had I had a nanny called, our cook was called Fatuma. She'd been with our family for years. I remember my nanny was called Anna. Everybody was there. And obviously, you've locked the gate, you're not supposed to leave, right? I've left the compound and I come out and I go left and I hit the main road, Arwings Kodak. And what I remember when I get there is I saw a lot of army guys who were like now on the road.
Yeah.
I remember this so well. I was 7 years old. That's never something I've forgotten. And they looked at me and they're like, they had no clue what to do with me, right? Because now I'm here, I'm just walking, I've left the compound. Meanwhile, people start looking for me in the house, no one can find me. And we used to play a game, hide and seek, and we'd hide in the cupboards. They've all looked for me. No one can find me. My mother's going crazy. Everybody's there because it's the coup. No one leaves. And there I'm. Luckily, they had to step out of the house. I think it was one of them found me. I think the army guy started like walking. He asked me, where do you live? Who are you? I said, 7 years old, right? Dumb 7-year-old. So he started walking me back. I'll never forget. I'll never forget when I met them. I was like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. No one had explained it. I just found myself with this group of men who are looking at me like with big guns and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, so he started walking me back. It wasn't far. I mean,
Yeah,
you're not even talking.
Yes,
it wasn't far.
I get it, less than a kilometer for
But
sure.
in my mom, way less. You're talking
A meter, like meters, I get it.
200-300 meters, if that. But in my mom, in the family, they can't find me. And then they realize the gate is open. This girl is out. We don't have a day guard. We don't have a gardener. You open and close your gates yourself, right? It wasn't a big building situation as it is now. It was some houses and you walked out normal.
Yeah.
You're going to buy milk at the end of the road at the kiosk. It wasn't a big deal. So he was on his way back. So that's how I was considered dumb. It was, I'm laughing about it now.
Yeah, I was going to even ask that.
But I grew up with, if I'm really honest, my older sister was considered a genius. She was an A student. She was extremely smart. Still is. She was smart like crazy. And then my brother, the third born, was just as smart. And then there's me, who's just like the lights are not on all the time kind of situation. So
That must have been hard.
you know, funny enough, when I was younger, it didn't occur to me what was being said or how the dynamics were being played out, because there's older sister genius, third born equally academic, equally genius, fourth born now, my baby sister, the last born, you know how it is, baby, everyone that. Then there's me. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing people are bragging about me.
Wow.
I was my dad's favorite and my grandfather's favorite. They adored me like crazy. They wouldn't let somebody come near me or anything. But it didn't occur to me that there was anything for me to. I didn't feel left out. But then when I started coming into my young teens, older teens, it started occurring to me that I was probably being looked at as the person who's going to be a failure. At some point, I'd hear my aunts say I'm a black sheep of the family, because I was also unapologetically myself. I wasn't afraid. I would answer back. I didn't see the need to kind of be that person that conforms to what they were expecting. I could see sometimes the way my mother was being treated, I didn't like it. So I wasn't exactly the model child in this situation. And so even, funny enough, like a month before my dad died in the year 2002, he said to me he was so worried that, and I was so naive, you know, just because I saw the best in everybody, I loved everybody, I didn't see it. But in my teen years, I started realizing actually some of the people around me did not think I was worth anything. I was just this dumb fool who was not going to be anything in her life. I think some people packaged me that way. And frankly, today I don't have space for them in my life, just because you realize you're carrying a lot of things as a child that you pick up.
Yep.
And you that unconscious response to all of that. Now, when those relatives reach out and stuff like that, I don't have time for them because they didn't have time for me. And it's not that I do it on purpose, and I think that's super important, but my true self, my honest self, doesn't see why. It's when I started working for Safaricom and started being this, what they considered...
not black sheep.
Not the black sheep. I started making something of my life, is now when everybody comes back and you're like... And not, again, you don't do that on purpose, but you know, your soul says, actually, you know what? We're good.
You know, first of all, thank you so much for being honest and vulnerable with your life story. The reason why I start CTA from childhood is every single person who has sat on this seat, how they are now was shaped by these formative years.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you're a CEO, the best musician, this time in life plays such a critical role in shaping who it is that you become to be.
You know, they say from the age of 1 to 7, you've basically That's your foundation. That's who you are. And people don't realize how important those first 7 years of your life are on many levels. It's just not education, but everything. For me, definitely, when I look back, the loving being alone comes from that. When I was a child, I was extremely happy to just be. I remember I would go out and play. When it's raining, I'd be outside by myself. And it's still something I really value today, because I think it's such a gift to be able to be alone and love being alone and not be afraid of it.
Yeah. What's okay? I'm trying to, you know, you rightfully said when you said your mom was from USSR, Russia,
Yes.
Soviet Union. My eyes were, what? Yeah. Never saw that. So does that? What's your relationship like with your mom? And I'm only asking this because I'm like, she's trying to. I'm in Africa. My plan was never to be in this continent. I'm in an Indian community that's not again now accepting me. Okay, I've got these children. What's it like now for, what's the dynamic of your relationship?
You know, when people tell you you'll only understand the value of your parents when they're gone, it's exactly what happened. I grew up wanting so much more from my mom because she was not domesticated. My mom was a tough, kick-ass woman. If you imagine you've left your country, remember there's no internet. Communication is a letter gets here in 2 weeks, somebody replies, you'll get a reply in 2 weeks if you're lucky. Remember, it's telegram, it's those blue papers. TV is not showing much of Africa, let alone Kenya, right? Narok. It's not like you're going to the capital city.
You're going to the Mara.
You're going to, exactly, it was the Mara. It was actually in our farm. Every night we'd wake up and at the back, elephants had taken the fence down. That's the life, right?
Yeah.
So imagine you've left that for a better life, not for the love of your life. And I think that's really important. You've left to pursue a better life.
Wow.
With someone you love and trust. That dynamic changes who you are as a person. And then you come to this small town, you're not speaking the language. I think she might have had some English in her, but my grandmother didn't speak English. She spoke Kachi, which was a mother tongue, barely any Swahili, enough to get by, but no English at all. And a lot of other people within I think it was, so this woman kicked ass. And I think sometimes when I think about how much she went through over those years, it can only be, it doesn't even sound real sometimes, Richie, when I talk about it, because she's she's trying to love everybody around her. Now she's having children. She's got to bring them up in perhaps a way that she's not agreeable to, because now she has to do what the Indian side of the family says. Not that it's a bad side, don't get me wrong.
I get it.
Now you're having to conform to all those kind of things. We're growing up, we're being taken to the mosque, you're doing madrasa, you're being taught the Quran. She's Christian. She hasn't converted. Neither of them converted for the other. So there's that dynamic.
There's that dynamic.
Yeah. I will say, thankfully, though, neither of my parents are religious. You know, my father broke so many traditional, so much tradition was broken by just the fact that he married my mother. So already, you're not expecting this man to be praying 5 times a day and all of that stuff. He wasn't. He said he was a Muslim, but there was not a day in his life he practiced a religion, and neither did my mom practice her Christianity. And as much as when I say this, people are like, oh, but religion, it wasn't forced down our throats. None of us were told you have to be a certain way. But growing up in Narok, we went to madrasa, we were taught the Quran, we went for Eid, etc. Because that's the side that dominated. And that's the side. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, we all chose to be there. None of my relatives held my neck and told me I must do all of that. But when I came to a point where I could take my own decisions, I just said, you know what, religion's not for me. So that's one of the things that you would say for her was very much, you must do it like that. And then, you know, she eventually blended into the family. People, the very people that were difficult with her at the beginning, loved her to bits. My grandmother was so against her. On her dying bed, only wanted my mother next to her.
Wow.
And so there's a factor of forgiveness, there's a factor of so much in that alone. But my grandmother died of cancer and she wanted my mom next to her.
Your mom's speaking to you in what language? Now as your child.
Now my mother goes and teaches herself all these languages. So by the time my mom gets here, she's fluent in Swahili. If you had my mom speak Swahili, you'd be like, So first there, right? Second, she's fluent in Russian. She's learned Kachi. And then she's teaching herself languages like German. So my mom was... And then my mom in Russia, funny enough, grew up watching a lot of Indian movies. In the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, Indian movies were very big in Russia.
Yeah.
Her favorite actor was this actor called Raj Kapoor. So Raj Kapoor, I think. She grew up watching Indian movies, so she was also fluent in Hindi. Completely. I remember a story once. We had gone somewhere and we were sitting, and these two Indian men here in Nairobi, in Westlands, I think it was a restaurant or something, I was quite young, and they were talking about my mom in their language, in Hindi. And my mom was just seated there, just smiling, etc. And I think they were saying something like, what's this woman doing? Because none of us look anything like, we look Indian, all of us.
Yeah.
Like, you have to convince people we're half caste. My brother my brother and my sister look a little bit like my mom. But I have completely taken everything. I think my mom was just the carrier, honestly, with me. So I think they were asking, like, what's this white woman doing with these Indian kids? You're talking about early 80s. And they talked and she turned around and answered them in Hindi completely. Those men they were like, and I don't think they had nice things to say, so she put them in their place. But that's how it was with my mom. So going back to the fights I would have with my mom, and there were a lot of fights because my mom from the age of 11 started having mental health issues. And a lot of us didn't understand them.
Mental health has just become a conversation the other day.
I remember my mom asking for help from the family and she was told, those are white people diseases. That's what she was told.
What?
Yeah, you've come with your white people disease here. And then as a child, you start believing that there's something wrong with your mom. And you listen to everybody else. And so I had a lot of anger towards my mom.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why can't she be like anybody else? For a little bit of my younger life. But then when I started becoming a teenager, 14, 15, 16, 17 onwards, I really started understanding my mom, spending more time with her, watching her kick ass every day. She was fixing trucks. She taught herself she was a mechanic, self-taught. She came here and learned how to fix trucks. So now I'm watching this kick-ass woman who may not be in the kitchen, but is doing things even men can't do. She'd wake up in the morning, she'd go to town, she'd fight for payments, my mom was like, I couldn't ask for a better woman to look up to. So that's then the relationship. My anger, I think, was around the age of 11 because I think I'd been consumed by why is she always in her bed? Why is she always lying down? Why doesn't she want to be with us? She wouldn't come on holidays and stuff with us. I think I can only remember maybe one holiday that my parents and I went to. Everything else was either with our dad or with our mom. For whatever reason, I don't think it was because they didn't love each other, but it was just what had to happen at that point. By the time we were growing up, she was in so much depression. She didn't really want to go out and do much. It was far and in between. So a lot of our social stuff was done with my dad.
Did you ever get the chance to go to Russia?
No.
You didn't, huh?
No, we were never exposed to the Russian side, unfortunately.
Through stories with her?
She barely spoke about it because I think she grew up in an era where there was a lot of conflict as well. The last I heard her speak about her father was that he had been killed. Remember, she's not there with him. The last time she went to Russia was when she was pregnant with me, I think. So for her, it was a very dark side of her life, and she didn't really want to talk about it. She didn't say much about it. She'd have nice stories to say, but she didn't talk about a lot of it.
The way now you're speaking about your childhood.
Yeah,
You
she
didn't.
didn't. Her childhood, what I do remember is she did speak about was more of pain and struggle than it was of happiness. Is what I remember most.
Wow, that's taken a different turn from what I expected. But thank you so much for sharing. Okay, you see the pieces are falling perfectly, and I'm beginning to understand the rosy side, the not so rosy side.
Can I tell you
Yeah.
something? I had never seen a picture of my grandfather per se, other than one old photo, which I want to just go back and check if it was. But I think I have maybe 6, 7 photos of my mom, her at somebody's wedding, some pictures of Russia, but not necessarily her, my dad, or which relative it was. But then after she died, my sister and I tried to find, actually when my mom was alive, she wanted to find her family because she had lost contact with them for over 10 years. And so she had tried to reach out, we couldn't find communication, etc. But a few years ago, my older sister managed to track and found a photo of my grandfather. So now I have a photo of my grandfather who was working in government in Russia at the time. And then what surfaced was a picture of me and my mom.
Oh.
That had gone back to her family in Russia. So they had this picture of me and my mom, which is the only picture I have of me and my mom at the age of 2.
Wow, it's the only photo
I
you
always
have.
say our parents didn't do a great job of taking pictures and stuff.
They didn't have the
picture moja, and even that one you're probably scratching your head a bit. But yeah, I didn't. Yeah, and I have that picture. I don't have a physical copy. Somebody sent it to me on WhatsApp, and Richie, it floored me. I think I cried for hours when I saw that picture because I'd never seen it. I'd never seen. It's there now. If you go to my Facebook, it's my mom carrying me. I'd never seen that picture until 4 years ago. And somebody sent it.
And you're saying that's the only photo you have?
I have pictures with my mom, but
Okay.
that was that small.
Yes, I get it.
But I think it had probably a lot of emotions that I'd never. So so answering you, we didn't have much exposure, actually any exposure to our Russian side. And I don't know why. I wish my mom, I asked her that many times. It was never an answer we got. So I have no idea what lies ahead. And I do want to one day go back. I did once go to the Russian embassy here, but they said they couldn't help much.
Wow. You know, the tagline on this show is you truly never know people until you take the time out to get to know people.
Everyone has a story.
Yeah, everybody has a story. And people see, and you know, Sylvia, I really used to like say this, people see the glory, but few know the story.
Yeah.
So they want the Zaheeda for Safaricom, but this is who she is. This is this is the beginning.
This is what shapes us.
Exactly. I like the way you said that. Okay, let's take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we continue from transition to high school.
Cool.